Okay, let's unpack this. This deep dive is, I have to say, one of the strangest source stacks we have ever received.
It is wild. I mean, we are threading a needle through totally different worlds here, from the surprising economics of high-end escorting to behavioral genetics.
And the detailed dating psychology, and even high-level financial fraud.
It's all in there.
I mean, we're talking about articles that mention major histocompatibility complex genes, like in the same breath as investment bankers shorting the housing market.
Yeah.
So what is the through line? What's the core mission?
Well, the mission is really to uncover the non-obvious factors that determine perceived worth and stability in your life.
Okay, worth and stability.
Exactly. And that worth could be measured in romance, self-respect, your health, or even market success. Across all these fields that seem unrelated, our sources all point to these hidden mechanics of how value is created and how it's maintained.
So it's about understanding the kind of the algorithms that are running beneath the surface, driving success and attraction.
That's it. The stuff happening well beneath what we normally see.
All right, let's start exactly where the sources do, with the dynamics of high-end escorting. Because it gives you this really raw capitalist look at what men with immense resources are actually willing to pay a premium for.
Right.
We assume that a high rate, say $2,000 an hour, is purely for beauty. But the sources reveal that as a very incomplete picture.
Oh, completely. For wealthy men, access to physical appeal it's cheap, it's abundant. Their primary motivation for paying that kind of extraordinary rate is not physical at all.
It's emotional.
It's emotional security and reliability. Their biggest, most existential fear is that the provider will ruin their carefully constructed life.
Their reputation, their business, their marriage.
Everything. So that $2,000, it's not really a fee for service.
It's more like an insurance premium against drama.
Exactly. The value is tied entirely to peace of mind. The professional's job is to guarantee zero future liability.
Meaning you show up how?
You show up emotionally clear, you're well-rested, discreet, and deeply respectful of the client's time and boundaries. It allows the man to just relax, to feel wanted in his masculine energy, which is something he might not have felt in years at home.
So the lesson for you, the listener, is that in any relationship, personal or business, that reliability, that preparation, emotional clarity, those are really high-value commodities.
For sure, and if that's the premium people will pay to get value, let's look at how people maintain their own self-worth.
By setting boundaries. There's that one story in the source material about turning down an offer of, $10,000 a month for exclusivity?
Yeah, from a man worth $70 million, and the reason for turning it down was that it felt insulting, stingy even, so they walked away.
And that decision is crucial, isn't it? It teaches other people what your self-worth is.
It's everything. If you say yes to something that undervalues you, you're signaling that your floor is low. You're essentially telling that man, I accept low effort and low investment.
And if they had accepted it, that expectation would have been set. And you'd end up in that awful scenario where years later you get a cheap blender from the clearance aisle for your birthday.
Because they believe that's all you require. Saying no protects your value. It earns respect in the long run.
This brings us directly to a really painful dynamic covered in the sources. The nice guy problem. The sources explain how men who are, dependable and trying to do the right thing often unintentionally teach their partners they can be neglected without any consequence.
It's this devastating behavioral reinforcement loop that just creates so much deep resentment. The nice guy keeps providing resources.
Paying the bills, doing the chores, being the good husband.
Yeah. All of that even when there's zero affection or intimacy or any sexual warmth coming back his way.
So the partner learns, probably unconsciously, that they can just withdraw emotionally and still get all the material and logistical benefits of the relationship.
They learn they can stay while giving less and less. And what we see in the sources is that when a man's emotional and sexual desire is just invisible, he becomes like a piece of furniture.
He withdraws. And eventually, he reaches for that connection and warmth somewhere else.
Which connects directly to that energetic balance in a relationship.
Okay.
The sources talk a lot about the magnetic power of feminine energy.
Right, that a woman controls the relationship effortlessly when she is soft, warm, and secure.
Yeah, and the sources also touched on this idea of hyper-independence in women, viewing it less as a strength.
And more as a trauma response. Can you elaborate on that a bit?
It's really crucial context. Hyper-independence is often this deep learned defense mechanism. It's rooted in a belief that, partners always let me down, so I have to do everything myself.
Which is pragmatic. problematic in some ways, but in a romantic dynamic.
It blocks a true masculine man from feeling needed. It removes his purpose in a way he can't provide. When that sexual warmth and nurturing is gone because of resentment or this hyper-independent shield, he will eventually withdraw. That receptive, soft connection is what activates his desire to protect.
So if you're trying to build a connection, the worst mistake you can make is confusing consistency or just, politeness.
For genuine attraction, it happens constantly. Someone might show up regularly, keep the conversation going in this routine, shallow loop.
But they never deepen the intimacy. They never progress the relationship.
Exactly. That is not attraction. According to the sources, attraction always seeks expansion and progression. Keeping you in a loop just means the connection serves them exactly as it is, and they have no motivation to level it up.
Okay, let's pivot sharply. Let's move to the internal work, the power of mindset. The concept of manifestation, as it's presented here, is less about magic wishes.
And much more about highly focused energy that actually shapes your behavior. The underlying philosophy, going back to things like, as a man thinketh, argues that your dominant thoughts are literally the seeds of your reality.
They dictate the actions you take.
Unconsciously, yeah, and that shapes your results. So manifestation involves this specific, unwavering wanting, but, and this is crucial, it requires a plan.
And breaking that desire down into manageable, tangible steps. That example of the Postmates driver who wanted the expensive shoes was perfect.
Right.
Instead of being overwhelmed by the, $800 cost, he just reframed it. He committed to doing one extra delivery every single day to put the money aside.
It wasn't magic. It was focused effort driven by a clear internal vision. That's the key. Manageable milestones create consistent action.
And the other important technique is gratitude, but used proactively.
Yes. To truly manifest, you give thanks for what you want as if you already have it, rather than constantly asking for it.
Because asking just reinforces the belief that you lack it.
Exactly. You're shifting your internal state from scarcity to possession.
We also looked at the power of emotional processing.
Sure.
The sources talk about trauma and trapped negative emotions as physical blocks that need to be removed.
Yeah, the metaphor they use is so helpful. Trapped negative emotions, unaddressed traumas, they're like a glass of water that eventually overflows.
And spills over into physical or mental disease.
Right, so releasing this emotional energy, just becoming conscious of the stress you're holding, is essential. It removes blocks to abundance. The source likened it to demagnetizing a credit card. You wipe the negative data that's blocking the flow.
So let's bring this internal work back to relationships, because this is where it gets really, really interesting. The shift into high-value self-respect. What's the true cost of honoring your boundaries?
Well, the critical realization is this. Love that requires you to disappear or to shrink yourself is not love. It's control.
It's an unsustainable demand.
Totally. And when you stop shrinking and you start honoring your boundaries, the people who benefited from your old way of being, from your over-functioning and your lack of no's, they will call you difficult.
Or they'll say, you've changed.
You've changed, and that must be incredibly painful. So how does the source guide us through that specific conflict? When someone you love accuses you of changing for the worse.
Well, the sources are very clear on this. They're reacting to the loss of access, not to some failing on your part. High-value feminine energy, in this scenario, doesn't argue. It doesn't chase for clarity or beg for reassurance.
It creates distance.
It creates distance and self-respect. It steps away when something consistently doesn't feel right and lets the other person feel the consequence of that boundary.
And this internal stability, the self-mastery, it has a direct hardline link to the expert take on male commitment. The sources state bluntly that love is not the trigger for marriage.
Stability is.
Stability is. And that's often the core misunderstanding that causes so much heartbreak. A man can love you deeply, truly.
But he will not commit, he will not propose if his career, his finances, his whole sense of direction feels messy.
His brain, according to this analysis, requires that sense of a stable, secure foundation before he can build a permanent structure with you.
So if his foundation is wobbling, he's basically emotionally mandated to postpone commitment, no matter how amazing the relationship is.
Yeah, the emotional foundation is secondary to the material foundation for that specific life step.
Wow. Okay, now we have to move to the hidden forces that shape our choices and our destiny, starting with biology. Turns out, your attraction preferences are being dictated by your hormones and your literal smell receptors.
That's right. Research shows that near peak fertility, women's preferences shift predictably. They shift towards men who exhibit more masculine or dominant traits.
But the most surprising mechanical determinant is scent and genetics.
Absolutely. Our biology uses scent to detect genetic compatibility, specifically men with different immune system genes than your own.
Which, of course, leads to stronger offspring because of that genetic diversity. So if you genuinely like a man's natural scent, your biology is doing some seriously complex genetic math for you.
It's a really elegant system. But here's the major caveat the sources highlight. If you are taking hormonal birth control, it dramatically flips this preference.
It flips it. How?
Instead of preferring a man with a complementary immune system, you prefer one with a similar immune system. The pill mimics pregnancy, and the pregnant brain seeks genetic similarity, like nearby male relatives, for safety, not for mating.
So when you go off the pill, that preference can reverse, which would explain a lot of relationship confusion down the line.
A lot of confusion, yes.
Biology dictates so much, and our sources also dug into how genetics profoundly influences massive public health outcomes, specifically looking at obesity among poor populations.
And this is where we have to be really careful just reporting exactly what the behavioral genetics literature presented.
Of course.
The finding is that genetics is profoundly important for life outcomes, just across the board. The hypothesis presented is that two personal traits, a high food drive and low trait conscientiousness, are the biggest determinants of obesity in poor people.
Okay, for our listeners, what exactly does low trait conscientiousness mean here?
So conscientiousness is the personality trait that covers impulse control, diligence, orderliness, planning for the future.
Got it.
The sources argue that in our modern world, where affordable, hyper-palatable food is everywhere, having a high food drive combined with low conscientiousness is a powerful, unforgiving environmental multiplier.
So you're biologically programmed to want the food, and then you're psychologically less equipped to stop yourself.
That's the argument. And the source material contends that this combination of internal traits, not just sociological variables like food deserts, are the primary factors here. They could explain the vast majority of the variation.
Wow, that is the contention. The idea is that systemic efforts to change the food landscape matter, but maybe they matter substantially less than many people assume, especially compared to the impact of those biological and psychological traits.
It's a really sobering look at how deeply constrained some outcomes are by genetics interacting with the modern environment.
And speaking of constraints, we have to pivot now to the highest level of unforgiving systems: systemic financial failure. Let's look at the 2008 financial crisis as it's described in the source material.
Yeah, this is where these huge, complex systems just override individual effort. The sources describe the banks engaging in massive fraud and, well, stupidity.
Specifically by creating and then shorting the housing market with these complex instruments, credit default swaps.
Right. They're essentially betting against their own customers.
So when the crisis hit, the taxpayer bailed them out. What was the end game, according to the source material?
The outcome was that the banks took the bailout money. They immediately paid themselves enormous bonuses. They successfully lobbied Congress to kill any meaningful reform and oversight. And then, according to this analysis, they blamed immigrants and poor people for the housing collapse that they started.
That puts the whole struggle for self-mastery in such sharp relief, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You can work meticulously on your boundaries, your thoughts, your body.
But you are constantly running into these powerful systems, whether it's your own biological programming or rigged economics, that are often just ruthlessly designed to extract value from you.
Exactly. It highlights the vast difference between the controllable internal world where you set your value
and the ruthless, unforgiving external world where your value is constantly under assault by algorithms, biology, and economic structures.
So what does this all mean?
I think it means that the core of personal value isn't arbitrary. It's defined by maintaining your internal peace and these ironclad boundaries, which other people recognize externally, whether it's in a relationship or in business.
And if you just give yourself away, the system, whether it's a partner or a bank, will take everything you offer.
And then ask for more. But this personal effort, it's not happening in a vacuum. It's constantly intercepting with these powerful, often unseen forces.
Biological programming, psychological conditioning, rigged economic systems. Your value is dynamic. It's constantly being tested.
So here's the final thought. If attraction, health, and financial security are all shaped by these deep, unconscious mechanics, from the immune genes we smell to the stability threshold required for commitment, how much of what we call destiny is actually just the outcome of biological and societal algorithms we haven't learned to hack yet?
That is a big question, and it's something for you to consider. What is the hidden